It's a great day. My name is Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission really is to provide you, that's right, you, the hard-working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Dr. Dwight. He's in the building, and he'll be talking about how not only can you earn $10,000 in your business in less than 4 to 8 weeks, but also how you can get going and stop all the delays. This is interesting. We should figure this out in a minute. What's going on, Dr. Dwight Riddick? How are you?
Hey, man, I'm good, man. Glad to be here with the happiest man in the movement on this #1 business late night show, man. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you to viewers, by the way. Thank you for tuning in, because without you, we don't have a show. So thanks for allowing us to stream into your home during these very remarkable times that we're all living in. So this will be a good use of your time, especially for all the entrepreneurs and dualpreneurs. So Dr. Dwight, before we get going, we'll get into your bio and talk about how famous you are. They'll get to that, and they'll read all the stuff online. We'll get to that. But I have a question. Why are businesses, from your view of the world, struggling today to be successful when they have access to more information than ever before? They've got AI that can just tell them what to do, how to do it, when to do it, yet they're struggling to be profitable and grow their business. What's a couple of things that's holding them back?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I think for me, it's the very thing you just said. It's too much. I think sometimes we have too many options. We have too many solutions, too many strategies, too many avenues. And if you overwhelm any person, business, or organization with more than they can handle, then what it does, it drowns out their real message. It causes them to try to do everything, which means they're doing absolutely nothing. You know, I learned a long time ago that if you're for everybody, you're for nobody. And sometimes businesses have so much information that it causes them not to be able to make a choice. I know I have some family members, when we go out to eat, I try to say, look, just pick something from this part of the menu. Because if they can look at the whole menu, man, we got another 45 minutes before we ever eat, because there's too many options. And I think businesses are in that same space.
What do you say to the person spot on that's listening right now, and they're like, okay, I know what I should be doing, but what is Dr. I keep saying Riddick, but it is Riddick. I keep saying Dwight. I keep saying Dr. Dwight, but his name is Dr. Dwight Riddick. I'll say Dr. Riddick. How's that? Should I say Dr. Riddick?
Yeah, or Dwight, man. I'm good either way.
Okay. The question they may have as they're listening right now is for the person that's very, very experienced. So we're going to talk to two types of entrepreneurs, and then we get to his background. Okay. Well, first off, the person that's experienced. They bought all the programs. They've did the coaching. They've hired all the marketing folks, and yet their message and what they need to get out to the public is still being held back and is still delayed and stuck. What would you say to that person that's watching right now? What's 1, 2, or 3 things they can do? And that's all y'all experience, folks, that have already spent the money.
Yeah, already spent the money. So I think it's still niching down. I think people have a hard time really being what I call inch wide, mile deep, right? Even after you've done all of those things, coaching, speaking, programs, courses, at the end of the day, you want to narrow down exactly who you're targeting. So it's not just women. Like, it has to be something very, very narrow, like single women with children in middle school, right? Like the smaller you make your niche, the more valuable you become, because now when somebody sees your product or they see your advertising, it's like, oh, that's exactly who I am, not generally who I am. And I think for me, the hardest thing I've had, but I know my clients and others I've talked to, even who've been doing it for a while, is we try to become everything to everyone. And so I'm still leaning hard back on how I started. Too many options, trying to do too much at one time. And I do know, I heard you say earlier, dualpreneurs. I ascribe to this idea of be both, that you can do multiple things, but you still want to see if you can get those multiple things, multiple products, still to the same type of person.
I like it. And for the person that's listening on the other side, that person just getting started. And I guess getting on the start is a relative term. So just so we can frame the conversation for Dr. Dwight, I get it. Some of y'all got some letters behind y'all name. I get it. Y'all have been in the professional realm and done some amazing things. But now you're like, I can take my expertise and get paid more for what I know than I can do. And they're trying to step into this world that we're in right now that allows them to get paid just based on their informational knowledge. But they're just getting started in this business world. I'll say it like that. What's one, two, or three things you recommend to them? Maybe it's the same thing, I don't know, but what message would you have for the person that's just getting started and doing what they're doing now?
Yeah, so obviously the same thing, of course, niche down. But then I would also say start simple, right? Don't try to build. You don't have to have everything already done. You don't have to have all of the systems, all of the CRMs, all of the platforms. Just what can you do today? And realize that if you can start today, you can be perfect later. Right now, you just want to produce. Right? What can you hand out today? What can you sell today? What can you send today? How can you impact somebody today? Opposed to let me take all of this time, build out this huge website, get all of this branding, make sure my logo's right, have all of these emails set up. Like all of those things will come. If you're getting started, the key is to get started, right? Not to consistently be getting, but to do it.
Is they're listening and thinking, okay, Shades, he's making sense and sense. Y'all like that? Sense and sense. I know some of y'all are thinking that right now, but you might be wondering, well, who in the LL Cool J is this guy that's talking to us right now, Shay? I didn't read his background. Someone right now is cooking in the kitchen. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Some of you may be listening in the AirPods right now. Thank you so much. So we'll slow down for a moment if you don't mind, Dr. White. And you know the question, which is, who are you? That's pretty cool. And what was that defining moment that led you on the path of helping other entrepreneurs really be able to realize the profitability they need in their business?
Yeah, that's good, man. So first of all, I am you, right? Like I am every person that's listening, everybody standing in the kitchen, those of you who are just getting started, I remember that. I also am at that space now where, we're doing it. We have a predictable outcome, predictable income type of system. And so for me, I started out doing what everybody else did. I was just sharing information, helping people when I could, until I realized that, wait a minute, first of all, people were wasting time, and I would give a lot of information, a lot of time to people, and then they wouldn't execute on it. And I was like, wait a minute, I had to figure something out. Like, I want to help, but I do want to help. Like, I want to just keep giving information and giving this time, and people not really being changed, their lives not being transformed. And so at some point, I wanted to kind of level up. And so I started this John Maxwell certification. And so I joined the John Maxwell team, and that was phenomenal. After doing John Maxwell, I was able to launch my coaching business, modeled it after a few that I saw. And once I hit that first six figures, I was like, okay, this is pretty good. Then I realized that there was still more, not just more money, but there were more people to impact and more ways to do it. And so I added speaking and began speaking with Jeremy Anderson, Eric Thomas. I did a book co-signing with Les Brown. And now what I do is I actually coach coaches and speakers on how to launch their coaching and speaking business. So, on the one hand, that's why I'm in business. I am married with two kids. All right. I like to work out when I can, play a little basketball. I D1 ball in college. I'm a computer science nerd at heart. I play a little golf, play a little basketball. I love to dabble in tech. And so at the end of the day, let me just say that we are the same, that we are people who realize that we have strong messages, but try to figure out how to monetize it without feeling bad or feeling real salesy every time we open up our mouths to speak. And now I have learned that there are people who need your message. There are people who need your voice. And so I am a coach and speaker. I'm also a senior pastor. And so I pastor in Newport News, Virginia. And so I'm able to take some of this business and morph it into ministry. And the two together have really created for me a life where I really feel like I'm impacting lives. Not perfect by far, haven't figured it all out. But the things I do know, I want to share those with everybody else so that they too can maximize their potential.
For the person, thanks for sharing your background, being so authentic, just listening and saying, wow, I do want to get in this coaching business. I do want to be able to speak and share my story. But truthfully, Dr. Dwight, I feel like everyone has the same story as mine. And I don't know if I really have something that's unique and different type of story. Now, I know this is not a sit on the couch call, but we're going to ask them, what would you say to that person just doesn't feel like their story is different than anyone else and they're saying the same thing as everyone else? What would you say to that person?
Yeah, first of all, I think you might be right. Let me just say this. You might be right. There might be something very regular about your story, but there's also something very remarkable about it. And so what you do is you connect with other people because you're in it. Like you're listening to your story. You know your life. And so for you to talk about it, it may sound very ordinary, mundane. But if you can connect with someone like Che or like myself or some other coach or speaker that can hear your story from a different perspective, you will discover that there is something very unique about you, that there is this golden nugget hidden under all of this stone and rubble and dirt. You just may need to hear somebody else talk about who you are, where you are, and what you have overcome. But then on the other hand, let me say that if your story just happened to be like everyone else, you're not everyone else. And there are a group of people that are literally connected to you. Like you and I can both talk and share and speak and coach, but at the end of the day, there's some people that are going to listen to me. There's some people that will listen to you. There's some people that are like you. There's some people that will like me. And so don't let what you think is ordinary be the obstacle for you. Go ahead and remember that you are both regular and remarkable. And the combination of the two is what will help you get really great return, impact, and income when you launch out in coaching and speaking.
I like income and impact, and you seem to do doing a number of different things at the same time. And so I'm curious for the person that is a dualpreneur. A lot of our audience are dualpreneurs. They work a full-time job and they're a full-time entrepreneur. They want to be 9-to-5 millionaires. Okay, that's possible, right? There are also individuals out there that are saying, wait a minute, can you let Dr. Dwight know that I'm also got a husband, or I have a wife, or I've got kids? Or can you let them know also that I'm involved in my community at church? I'm a caregiver. See, I've got a whole lot going on. That's why I'm stuck. I've got all these things that are holding me back. What do you say to the person that says, man, I feel guilty when I say no to someone else and try to work on my stuff because I'm so busy involved in so many other things? Now, again, this is an unfair question. I know it's a broad question, but many of you out there might have some of those stories that you told yourself. And I'm curious what Dr. Dwight's view of the world is. So what would you say to that person that says, this is why I'm stuck? He doesn't know I got this list of things over here.
Yeah, that's good. I think you again have become regular with your list. Most people have a list of things. And I think the key to any list is first owning it, being able to say, look, these are the things that I do, but then also being able to say these are the things that are priority. And everything won't be a priority at the same time. So, I know there was a time where I was working on how do I balance it. I wanted to balance everything out. And I realized that balance is not about doing everything equally. Not for me. And I would share the same. I think that balance is really about, tossing up something with something in your hand, letting that go for a little while, and then you grab hold to something else. Like it's like juggling. Sometimes you have something in your hand, sometimes you're just throwing some things up, and you only deal with the things that are in your hand at that moment. So, for lack of a better word, there are time frames for different aspects. There are seasons for different things. So all of them might be on your plate, but you don't eat all of your food at once. Like your fork can't handle it so much. And so you just want to be able to balance out your time, be disciplined. And, as far as feeling guilty, I think you do the reverse. Like, don't feel guilty when you say no. Be glad, because your no to one thing means you're giving quality time, effort, and energy into this other thing. I remember playing basketball, and as I played basketball at James Madison University, and I wanted to be able to shoot so bad. Coach had moved me to point guard, and I had to learn how to dribble. Now, obviously, I'm playing D1 ball. I can dribble, I think, until the competition gets faster and people get bigger and it's much more physical. And he didn't teach me how to just dribble. He taught me how to dribble and take contact, dribble and take contact, dribble. And I became so good at dribble and take contact, I never had a chance really to practice the shooting. But I didn't have to shoot. There were other people who could shoot. All I had to do was dribble and pass, dribble and pass. When I scored, it was good, but that wasn't my role. And I think sometimes we do all of these things when we think we have to do all of these things, when in fact, there are some things that you can let others do. There are some things that when you say no to it, it gives somebody else an opportunity to step up and do the very things that you said no to. So now you living in your purpose, they're living in their purpose. Your no means somebody else gets to step up and actually carry out what they're supposed to be and who they are. So don't feel bad about that. You're just like everybody else. You can handle it.
You can handle it. I love it, by the way. And you might be thinking, his life is perfect, Shay. I love this guy. Say he's married. Guy say he played ball. I got cut in middle school, ladies and gentlemen. Don't judge me. That's a topic for another time. D1. He didn't say he went to HBCU. D1 ball at that. He's played. So you might be wondering, has there ever been a time there's been a setback? And we have a segment here, Dwight, Dr. Dwight, called Today is my January 1st. Now, for those folks who tune in every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you know what we're about to do. In fact, you can go ahead and say those magical words. Today is my January 1st. Happy New Year to you, by the way. Happy New Year to you. And for all the other folks who tune in for the very first time, you want to know what is going on. Today is our January 1st is our personal mantra here at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is, or how bright and sunny that past is back there. You know what? The past no longer equals the future. And so my
Yeah.
question for Dr. Dwight on the other side is really a two-part question. Number one, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st. What do you hear? What do you hear? And number two, what was the time you had some setback in your life, if any, and how were you able to bounce back from it?
Oh man, first of all, I love this whole today is my January 1st. Because for me, when you said that, I immediately thought every day is my January 1st. Like every day when I get up, it's a new day. Every day. I'm not worried about yesterday. And here's the key. I'm not worried about yesterday's success or sadness. Like it could have been really, really bad. Doesn't matter. Today's a new day. But it could also have been really, really good. Today's a new day. Because I learned over my time and with others that you don't want to hold on to the trophies of yesterday because then you won't enjoy the celebrations for the day. Like I know so many people that are like, yeah, I used to do this, I used to do that, and that was those are my heydays. You can't carry your last great heydays into today because you'll miss out on today's goodness and today's celebration. So I love the whole idea of today is my new year, January 1st. I may adopt that. I'm gonna have to drop that in my coaching program somehow. That's phenomenal. Now, the reason I want today to be my January 1 is because I have had some crazy days. Actually, my entire story, because I'm talking about playing ball, is that I actually got cut. So imagine this: high school things are good, life is good, high school was great, graduated top of class, fine. Got recruited to play ball, and then I got cut from the team. Like the coach who recruited me actually got fired, and when he got fired, he took his recruits with him. I didn't get to stay at the school, so I had to try out with the new coach. He cut me, which was devastating. And for some of you, you're like, whatever. No, no, trust me. I was shamed. I was upset. I felt embarrassed. Like those are some of the darkest times of my life. And what it did is it turned into something I carried not just that year, but I had to wrestle with that. So I'll go into undergrad. It's supposed to be 4 years. Somewhere around year 8, I'm still trying to get through undergrad. So I'm not on the team, right? I am delayed in my undergrad. I try to get in this fraternity. It's supposed to be like a semester. It took me like 4 or 5. There's a boo, right? I'm trying to get at. She's not trying to see me. So for me, my life had been delay after delay after delay after delay. My grandmother passed away during that time. And so I hit this really, really dark space where it was like, what am I doing here? Why am I here? And who am I? And I was literally stuck like waiting for a plane to take off, but not able to actually do it. Like you ever been there before where you would get ready to catch a flight, but they were like, it's the delay, but they didn't tell you how long, so you were there for hours and hours and hours and hours. Now you like 8 hours. You're like, I probably could do something else, but you didn't know what to do. That was me, stuck in life's airport with nowhere to go, nothing to do, nobody to help. And one day while sleeping actually in the back of my truck, just sad. I mean, I had a place to go to, but I was too embarrassed to go, so I didn't go back home to where my parents were. I didn't go where my sister was. There was literally an alarm that went off. I was in a hotel parking lot, and I guess the fire alarm went off at the hotel. When the fire alarm went off, everybody came outside. Some guy saw me sleeping in the truck, knocks on the window. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I formed my mouth. Shay, it was the craziest thing. I formed my mouth to say yes. But before I could say yes, it was like, no. And I just vomited everything. It was like, no, my grandmother passed. I got cut from the team. It was just like blah, 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 blah. And that for me was a pivotal moment. That was my January 1. That moment for me changed everything because I got it all out. Once I got it all out, he was like, you're going to be okay. And I looked at him in disbelief, but something in me was like, he might be right. And after that, everything turned around. I went back, tried out for the team. I'm a little bit older now. Tried out for the team, got back on the team. Ended up graduating a year later. So, I mean, that was the 8th year. Year 9, I finally got my undergrad, and then I went on to get the master's and a doctorate and some certifications after. Got the boo, got married up. I mean, so everything happened after that January 1, and now I spend time helping other people who are stuck realize that your past is your past. Like you cannot hold on to the pain of your past and be paralyzed in your present, be frozen from your future. Like you have to realize that you can't unscramble those eggs. Like they crack, they scramble. You got to eat. You got to do what you can with what you have. And that's my story, man. I'm glad you asked that because I think too many of us make all of this entrepreneurship look great, and it is not day to day great, and it definitely didn't start out great. Great question.
Yeah, yeah. There were some chapters before they get to chapter 21, right?
Absolutely.
as you're chatting and going back and forth, one of the phrases that really caught my attention, some folks I never get a chance to meet, right? And some folks I get a chance to meet briefly, and I got a chance to meet you when we were at an event down in Raleigh, North Carolina. And what really got me excited before I met you, other than all the wonderful, great stuff you're doing in the world these days, was this whole concept you have on max potential. And I know, maybe it has something to do with not being unstuck or making $10,000 a month and all this cool stuff. But I like to kind of hear the backstory and why max potential is so near and dear to your heart. Ladies and gentlemen, if you get a chance to talk to him, I'm sure he's going to mention max potential at some point. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And it might be just me. I'm the only selfish one who want to hear him talk about max potential. But I think it's important. So can you take a moment and talk about the max potential theme that you have that runs through everything you do almost?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's it. It is, I want to maximize potential of individuals, organizations, and others. I really believe that most people live beneath their potential. Maybe it's because of lack of exposure, maybe because it was some letdown, some rejection that they didn't bounce back from. I've just met so many people, and here's the key. I met people who are in low spaces, and I have met people in high spaces that are still living beneath their potential. That a lot of times we do what we get applauded for, but the people that are applauding for us are only applauding because we're doing better than them. They aren't necessarily applauding because we're doing our best. And I remember at an event, it was Eric Thomas, Jeremy Anderson, and Inky Johnson. And Inky Johnson tells the story of how somebody looked at him in his eyes and asked him, "Are you giving 100%?" And when he said it, it was like he was staring into my soul. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'm giving 100%. And I wasn't doing bad at the time. Like life wasn't that awful in that moment. But when he asked, it reminded me that I wasn't. And from that point on, I started looking at people, no matter who they were, struggling on the come up as a startup or successful, asking them the same thing: Are you really giving 100%? Like, are you really giving all the time you can? Are you really putting all the energy you can? Are you really as focused, or are you distracted? Or are you giving just enough to get by? Or are you doing just enough for people to see what looks like success to them when you know there's a next level for you? And I have learned that every single stage of my life and every person I work with in all of those spaces, that you can do a little bit more. I saw a while back on, I think it was a YouTube video or somewhere on social media. It was a young guy, actually. He was speaking, and he started off his speech by saying, "Hey, everybody raise your hand." And everybody raised their hand. Then he says, "Okay, now raise your hand higher." And everybody raised their hand higher. He says, "Now, why didn't you raise your hand as high as you could the first time?" Right? Like when I said raise your hand, why'd you go here? Why not go all the way up? And his point, I think, is my point, and that is most of us give this type of effort when we really have this much effort in us. And so I really believe I've been called to help people extend fully to maximize their potential. And then in doing so, they impact the lives of others. You change and transform others' lives. And I think when you do that, potential's been maximized.
As you were speaking, sometimes I get to ask the question. It's one of my favorite questions to ask, and that is, what's one of the best pieces of advice that you've ever been given? Now, I'll frame it for the audience so they know I'm not asking you to come off the mountain with the 10 Commandments here. That's not what we're asking you to do. I shouldn't say that to him. That's not what we're asking you to do, by the way. But we are asking you to take a look back. As ladies and gentlemen, he's had more mentors than I'm sure he can count these days. He's probably read more books than he can remember. We don't even count the number of hours of videos we watch anymore because we learn so much through video. But if you had to step back and say, Shay, I've been given a lot of pieces of advice, but here's one piece of advice that I've been given that I want to pass to the audience, what would it be and why?
Whew. Man, I think this probably changes in seasons and in times and in life stages.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it is everything moves at the speed of relationship. I think that's it for me. Everything moves at the speed of relationship. It's not what you learn, but it's who you learn it from. Same idea. It is not always who knows you. I mean, it's not always who you know, but sometimes it's how people know you. And I've learned that there's nothing we do in this world that does not include other people that actually has benefit. And so with that being said, I would say nurture relationships, our relationships with coaches, relationships with peers, relationships with people you mentor. Take relationships to be valuable enough to know which ones to fight for. Also, know what relationships may not be beneficial for you that you may need to let go of. I've seen people who had great potential connected to people who weren't as serious about theirs, and it will pull them down every time. I've also seen people who had low self-esteem and low potential and low capacity connect with people with high, and because of the relationship status, it will pull them up. And so, in this season of my life, I'm not saying nosy up to people. I'm not saying connect with people just so you can, get elevated. But I am saying know that everything moves at the speed of relationships.
I love it, by the way. As we come down the home stretch, we're close there. I'm curious, what do you do for fun when you're not out saving the world, when you're not out preaching, when you're not out teaching folks how to run a profitable business and earn $10,000 plus? What do you do for fun these days, man?
So man, I do have family, man. So my wife, she loves dinner and shopping, and so we don't shop as much as we do dinner, but we do restaurant hop. So we'll go to like one restaurant for appetizer, another one for the salad, another for the entree, just for fun of it. So that's one thing we do. Personally, I do movies. So my son plays soccer. My daughter plays soccer and loves to skate. So I definitely do those things with them. But if it's just me, man, I would go to a movie on a Monday by myself in the middle of the day. So that's kind of my jam, man. I
Wait,
love
but you
just kind
can't, but you can't leave us hanging, ladies and gentlemen. I won't let them leave us hanging. They're curious. What's one of your favorite movies, man, and why? Don't worry, he's not going to leave you hanging on there. I'm going to ask him the question. He's not going to say that movies is my jam and not tell us what's one of his favorite movies. We're all just curious now. We're all leaning forward. We're all nosy.
Come on, man. It's only one classic. It's The Lion King forever. Like, I mean, you just gotta go with my. You gotta go. I know y'all want something more adult than that. I'm sure. Like, I could name some other things, Gladiator 300 ish, but Lion King hands down.
He said, "It's a wrap. That's it. It's over." By the way, Lions King, hands
It's
down.
a wrap.
I love it. As we come down the home stretch, two-part question. Number one, what type of clients is your firm looking to work with these days, if any? We'll find if you're taking on any clients. And number two, how can folks best connect with you? If they want to stay in this conversation over and beyond the time that you and I have now, how would they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work with those who are seeking to launch coaching and speaking businesses. Kingdompreneurs are kind of my niche down. That if you're in ministry and looking to impact the marketplace, I want to help you bridge that gap. Because I have been pastoring now for over 18 years and in ministry for over 25, I know the nuances of ministry and church while at the same time understanding how to get into the corporate space. I do have many clients who may not be in ministry, but they're really excited about moving from their corporate space or moving from their 9 to 5 into corporate coaching and speaking. And so for me, it is those who are in that middle management space, excited about becoming a coach and or speaker, offer certification. My goal is to help you package. I believe that water is free, but then they put it in a bottle. And when they put free water in a bottle, we started buying it. The value went up, and it was something we could distribute. I want to do that with my clients. I take clients who have all of these ideas, and we package it. And in the package, we add value. With the package, we're able to distribute it. It allows them to live a life where they get their time back. They get income that will not only change their lives and transform their communities, but for me, it's really big because you can now provide low to no cost ministry because you're able to increase your income in corporations, campuses, and classrooms. And so if you're in the space where you think, you know what, I got these ideas, I got these thoughts, but I don't have a coaching program, or I like to speak, but I don't have a package speaking, I don't have a speaking package, then that's where I come in. We help you put together your website and your online course and your master class and your EPK. We make sure that you understand a clear niche, and then we have community. And so with over 250 coaches that are actively coaching and speaking as a part of our Playmaker program, my goal is to make sure that you are impacting lives, increasing income with a packaged coaching and speaking program that's undergirded by a certification. You can actually reach me Instagram at DS Riddick. That's RIDDICK, the number 2. Our website is DwightRiddick.com for speaking. And then if you want, you can check out our coaching, which is Max Potential CMI. And I would love for you to get there. Matter of fact, there's some free resources there that I'd love for you to grab to help you on your journey, to keep us connected. And if you haven't yet, make sure you connect with Jay Brown because he has got it going on. So I appreciate him highlighting me, but make sure you guys stay connected to him because remember, everything moves at the speed of relationship. And if you get the right relationships, you can definitely maximize your potential.
Wow. Let me say thanks so much, man, for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I appreciate it. I know you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. So you're giving us the most precious resource you have, which is your time. So thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. For you guys out there, stay connected to Shay. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, because without you, well, we don't have a show, by the way. We really don't. So thanks for allowing us to stream into your home, especially during these very challenging times we're living in the world. And I never get tired of reminding you, every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter what's going on in your life, whether you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming, or you're on the uproar, like you're going to that next level of success. The one thing I believe is that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name is Che Brown. It hasn't changed. Still the same. The Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. We out of here. Peace. Thanks a lot, Doc. Tell your wife we said hello, okay? Bye-bye.
Likewise, man. Take care.